Hey everyone, hope everyone is doing okay. Yes, Matt is busy with other stuff today, so he's not going to be joining us. But because we had the issue last time, I just didn't want to do another week, 2 weeks in a row without keeping you guys company. It was a bit too much, so yeah, going to be having me for now this evening. So commenting on some of the stuff going on, reading some of the questions, answering those that I can, and keeping you guys company. That's the idea. So hey everyone, see several of the names there going on. Thanks for being here as always. Your support really does mean a lot. Release the bragging and review REFERRAL. Thanks, man. Good day, Patreons. Thank you. Thank you to Fernando and Matt. Jennifer, here's a question. Jennifer Nichols says this stream never stays up. It's always taking down. It's the first time that it happened. The first time was an actual strike. So we were cut in the middle of the show because we use improper language. No, we didn't use improper language. We talked about things you're not supposed to talk about anymore, which is it's interesting. It's interesting to see the times we're living in and what freedom goes by these days. So we were cut off midair. Then, as a while back, I got a video just erased. Not exactly what not exactly sure what happened. And from that moment on, I decided to take down the live streams we do, so as to talk with a little bit more freedom, but take them down from YouTube and leave them on Odyssey. So if you have you have the links below. If you look at the links below, you have stuff like my books, Matt's books. You have the channel over at Odyssey. It's the same name. It's the Modern Survivalist. Everything that goes into this channel goes into Odyssey as well, including the stuff that I unfortunately have to pull, because if not, I get another strike. And that's why we couldn't do it. We couldn't do the previous one because I got yet another strike because I uploaded a video about a certain interview with a certain Joe Rogan interview, talking with a certain doctor that created a certain medical. So yes, because of that video, I got another one. So every once in a while, if there's something super important, I'll try to find ways of putting it in the channel, and but still, because of the names involved in that video, it was a few days later I got a strike. But I'm still glad I did it, because I know that a lot of you guys watched that video and got that important information that I needed you guys to have, because YouTube is it is the way it is, man. These people rule the world. It's not YouTube that rules the world. It's the people that own the corporations and the institutions that actually own YouTube and everything else. It's the same handful of people running things for everything. These guys own the pharmaceuticals. They own the publishing business. They own the tech ones that you think that some savvy nerd in a garage came up with a company. No, there's a lot more involved than that. It's not that simple. That's just a story. That's a narrative. Like Bill Gates. How many of you thought that Bill Gates was just a middle-class nerd that made Microsoft in his garage? Who knew that it was actually his mother, already multi-millionaires, and had dealings with IBM, and through her, they made sure that every IBM computer was using the software that the Gates family had at their disposal. So we are sold lies all the time. And the only way to fight that is doing what we do here, doing what I do here in the channel, trying to spread information that I know is important. So yeah, and that sometimes has consequences, but I'm not willing to give up absolutely everything. I'm willing to wiggle a little bit and find ways of getting things my way, but really compromise to such a degree, no. Anyway, that's why I take down the live streams, especially when we talk. If we're not talking about anything that could be a little bit more complicated, then I leave it. But most of the time, we end up talking about the ongoing situation that we all know of. So I usually take those down because I know that you still find them over at Odyssey. Okay. An emergency does not last 2 years, but a war does. Yeah, well, I mean, what else has to be said about all of this? That it's all about money? You didn't know that already? Um, Buenos días, muchachos y muchachas, says Rupert Chick. When you say muchachos, that's also including muchachas. It's including both the male and female versions. So that is kind of the woke way of doing it in Spanish. Because you have woke and the social justice warriors in Spanish as well, and they are reinventing the Spanish language, trying to say, whenever they say todos y todas, muchachos y muchachas, they mention both feminine and masculine, which is a Spanish thing, even though it's not necessary, because if there's something that's super inclusive, is the Spanish language, as it was already created hundreds of years ago. It includes absolutely everything. When you say todos, or when you say something that is both female and masculine, you don't need to separate those or discriminate between the two. It's already super inclusive. But these liberals will not stop at anything, and they're trying, or say anything when they say Latinx. That's not a Spanish thing. No one in the Spanish world says Latinx. That is, I mean, only maybe these days there's some poor demental idiot trying to impose that, but it's really not. It's something that came from America. It's exclusively, the first time I read that in a few years ago, it was something that was said in the United States, but in the Latin community, you don't say Latinx. You are Latinos, and Latinos includes Latinos and Latinas, men and women. You don't need to clarify that you're also mentioning women. It's only when you're talking about the actual use of the language would be, if you have a group of women, then you say, if they're all women, that's Latinas. That's an entire group of Latin women. If it's a group of men and women, it's Latinos, and that includes the women as well. And if it's men as in the group only, it's Latinos as well. It's only when there's all women that you actually use Latinas. Anyway, yeah, sorry for the Spanish lesson, but it's interesting how they corrupt everything, man. Everything has to be reinvented and rewritten, and the definitions. This happens in English, and it happens in Spanish as well. The definitions have to be recreated. A table is no longer a table, because what if I sit on one? And what if I'm eating a sandwich using my chair as a table? Then tables are no longer tables anymore, or chairs. This kind of mental screwing around, the only objective that this has is to make you feel that nothing really is a fact. There's no facts. There's just opinions about things. And the moment you abandon the idea that there's certain facts we can count on, then everything goes. Whatever lie, whatever bullshit they want to sell is acceptable. And that's how men are no longer men, and women are no longer women. And if I suddenly identify as a woman, I am one. And this is how you now have to clarify. No, he's a biological male. He's a biological man, a biological woman. It has always been a biological. There was no other interpretation of it. But this is how they're tricking us into doubting the most basic things we've always taken for granted. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get to the questions here, because if not, there's gonna be. I'll do like 40 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how many questions. Florida has a few twisters, yes, and there's a snowstorm as well going on, and the Texas shooting or hostage thing. There's several stuff going on that I want to mention. YouTube can't allow the truth to be told. No, man, they definitely don't want that. What's going on with truckers in Canada? I have no idea. REFERRAL, you have an alternate streaming channel lined up? No, the thing is that with StreamYard, streaming on Odyssey, I don't think it's possible. I mean, maybe it is. Let me know there in the comments. But the only one I know, and besides, I don't want to give it up. I don't want to give so many years of invested in YouTube as to have a channel with all the content. I don't want. I mean, I think that they want that at a certain point. They want you to give up and not be here anymore. That's how they basically win all of this. And at the same time, it's all about profit as well. As long as they're making their 30 silver coins for the devil or whatnot, as long as they keep doing that, they make it hard for you, but they still allow you to be here. And I think there's a very important economic component of all of this. Even though these companies are owned by people with a very clear agenda, at the same time, there are also companies that are all about making money. That's the one thing they just do not want to screw around with. If these channels like mine, and channels like so many other conservative channels, much bigger than mine, keep getting more subscribers, getting more of a voice, getting more people watching, that's noticed. That does not go unaccounted for. They know that. And if you just keep on giving up, they win. They create this false sense of there's not enough of us. This is why it pisses me so much when people tell you stuff, like, yes, I don't share this with others. I don't say this out loud, but I think just like you do. If you think like I do, then make yourself heard. The more you do that, then the more we feel empowered in knowing that we're not alone in this. If everyone just shuts their mouth, like the Djokovic, the tennis player, you may not like tennis at all. I get that, but when what happened with Djokovic, Novak Djokovic, that he was kicked out of Australia right now. That guy, number one, multi-millionaire, best player in the planet. That guy could have easily said, yeah, I got the vaccine. Here's my vaccine password. You think that man could not afford to get around that? Even the Australian government could not have given a damn less if he was actually vaccinated or not. They want him to bend the knee. They want him to say, yes, I complied. Yes, I'm doing your thing. So that's all they want. They don't really care if he gets it or not. I mean, let's be honest about that. They just don't want that statement of a guy that is saying, I don't agree with what you're doing here, and I'm still playing in your country. They would not allow that to happen. That's why they incarcerated him, detained him twice, and then kicked him out of the country, because he wouldn't bend the knee. And yeah, I mean, I hope he does that. I was just talking about this with my wife. My wife, she thinks that given that the guy is a natural born winner, he will do absolutely everything to win, which means complying and getting this done and then be allowed to play in other tournaments, because if not, it's been made very clear that he was not going to be allowed anywhere else to play. So will he stay strong in his principles and say, no, I'm not doing this? I mean, if I was him, with the amount of money that he has and the amount of success he already achieved and being in the dawn of his career, I would say, screw you, I'm not complying. That's what I would do. But anyway, who knows what he's going to be doing. But as of right now, I mean, I'm grateful that he fought this much. I'm grateful that he got to this point where he basically made the Australian authoritarians, that nasty hellhole of a country, show their true colors. They are the dictators. They are awful, and it's being made very clear by all of this. Anyway, yeah, I find it interesting how Vivian P. Books just came in Street Survival and Enemies, Foreign and Domestic. Thank you so much, Vivian. I really appreciate that. So does Matt. Believe me, he does. We are writers. We write books. Matt writes some of the best. I mean, in my opinion, he writes the best fiction regarding these topics of preparedness and politics of what's going on in the world, and it was very much predicting all of this way ahead of his time. And I try to do my thing with my books, my manuals. Yes, I'm not that much of a good writer, but I do have experience in all of this stuff, so that's what I try to share with you guys there. So where's Matt? It's Antonas. He's just unavailable at this moment. Mass on his boat, Jack Spring. Just say, hola, amigos. Trump rally. Trump rally last night, same old song and dance, starting to have my doubts about him. Frank Slovich, I don't trust him. I honestly don't. I mean, I'm glad that he stood at some point for what some people, some like-minded people, and did he do some? Did he stand for something? I don't know. I honestly don't know anymore. I mean, I know that the man has always been a lifelong Democrat. That's and only in recent years he became conservative Republican, but he's always been, and he was very clear about it. I mean, that's something you have to give the man the props that he said that he gave Hillary Clinton money for her campaign because that's the way it works with politicians. You give them money and then they do what you tell them. Literally word for word what Trump said in a video back in the day, not that long ago. That was his explanation when asked why did he finance the Clinton's campaign. That's what he said, because I give them money and they do what I say. That's how it works. Politicians are employees of people that are bribing them. This idea of, well, they're lobbying. No, there's no lobbying is a fancy word for, lobbying is like calling a guy that runs across the border an undocumented tourist. It's kind of like the same thing. No, he's not an illegal immigrant. He's an undocumented tourist checking out the country. Well, that is lobbying. When a company gives a politician millions of dollars to do what he's being told, that is corruption. And we should start using the words the way they're intended, because they have meaning. In spite of what these liberals want us to think, words do mean something, and that matters. I thought Latinx was a new Hispanic member of the X-Men. Yes, it is so stupid. And it's stupid and it's disrespectful, and it's kind of racist too. The idea that, yes, we're going to be explaining these stupid Latinos. How is it that you become inclusive by saying Latinx? It's not even your damn country. Don't try to reinvent it so as to make other people be more inclusive of themselves. They're so blinded. The progressives are so tone deaf to what's around them. They think that the world is going to be grateful for their own bullshit. Never works that way. And I don't know a single Latin person that says Latinx or thinks it's a good idea. It is stupid, and it's stupid, and it's coming from somewhere else. It's coming from a different language, a different culture, and it's trying to be imposed on you, and some damn idiots will take it for sure. But yeah, my friend says I'm not Latino. Who the hell is that? I'm a Mexican. Latino is basically anyone that has Spanish, or that is either from South America, Latin America, South America, and that's pretty much everything south of the United States. But that it means so many people, so many different cultures, so many different ethnicities. If you go to Peru, for example, you will have a huge community of Japanese descendants. And those guys consider themselves Latinos, and they're damn Japanese. If you look at them, even their culture is, strongly based on what they are, where they originally come from. Most people in Latin America come from all over the world. So you will have black people, you will have white European people, you will have people from all over the world, and they all consider themselves probably as much Latin as the guy next to him. But it's mostly about the language and a little bit of the cultural thing, Vivian P. I met Bill Gates in college. He looks exactly the same on-off camera. I didn't realize who he was at the time. He looks like a creep in the real world as well. Jack Spring. Anybody get the FERFEL 8 or play? Thanks, man, for always bringing it up. I'm super happy for that. I'm glad that you guys like it, because I got lots of comments from people that liked it a lot, even even folks that I met, in the real world, out and about. Let's tango and tanga. Yes, that's kind of. Did you know that Dr. M has his own V called something, funded by Bill Gates, made in China? I honestly, the pale horse, dude. I'm not trying to censor you. I'm just trying to not get the video pulled. But I honestly didn't know that. Not surprised, because I mean the man is he works in this business, so I'm not surprised that he has one. Um, I think he's a lot more honest than many of the other people in his industry. But whenever there's an economic interest uh, in there, there's always a possibility of that going on. I mean, I try to use my own good judgment, and my own good judgment has worked very well for me over the years. And it's not just now. It's been many cases in which I got, suggestions from doctors or from experts, and I listened to what they had to say, and then I made my own decision. That's what smart people are supposed to do. You just use the information provided by experts. You need things explained. Those people will explain it, and then you use your own good old common sense, but also your freedom to decide for yourself. Okay, I get this. I simply don't want it, or I do. And it's up to you to decide that. If you don't have that basic essential freedom, what do you have? And it has happened. I mean, back in the day when I was doing boxing, I ended up with one of those cysts, like a ball here in my wrist. A doctor said, you need that fixed right away. We need to do surgery on that wrist of yours right now. If not, you won't be able to ride. You won't be able to use that hand anymore. And the guy was, one of the more expensive, fancy experts in his field, a hand doctor expert, right? A super nice office, obviously a lot of money. He was doing very well for himself. He was doing very well for himself, partly because he convinced everyone that they needed surgery. I listened to him. I did my own research because it was already available at that time. So going online, doing my own research, and I said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not going to be getting surgery for something that apparently can go away. It eventually went away on its own. I have no problem in my wrist. And yes, I had a huge ball there because it was something I had punched at some time, or someone, or whatever it was. Then nothing wrong, and my hand works perfectly fine. Sure, that's but that man wanted to slash my wrist open and do God knows what, so as to clean. He would have ruined my hand, but he would have made a bit more money, for a few more bucks. And the same has happened to me with all sorts of people, with dentists, myself, my kids, my wife, with the doctors of all kinds. It is very common that they will try to do something that, with my kids, my younger, my oldest kid back in the day, one of the pediatricians we came across wanted to do a circumcision on him. So what are you talking about? No, we're not Jewish. So, and she said, no, he needs it because you see how you cannot pull down the skin on his penis? Lady, that's the way it's intended to work. You're not cutting up my son. Yeah, he needs this right away. We talked with another pediatrician. He said, no, of course, he's perfectly fine. His kid is perfectly healthy. But they want to do surgery. They want to make money. This is like taking your car to a bad mechanic. And it shouldn't be that way, because doctors should not be like that. But they are a business, and they are about making money. Same thing. I mean, I've lost count of how many times I had this exact same story on a number of different cases in which they're just trying to make a few extra bucks, or maybe a few extra $1,000, right? And they couldn't care less. You have good doctors and you have bad ones. The bad ones will make up bullshit so as to charge you in spite of your health. That's basically it. I've lost count. My youngest kid, perfectly healthy kid, when that kid is one of the healthiest little babies when he was born. And they said, no, he needs a little bit of, he needs a little bit of air with different kinds of bullshit techniques. He needs a little bit of be warmer, a little bit of air. So we're going to be putting this little tube with air next to him. So what is all of that for? At the end of the day, they charge my health insurance company a day in the baby ICU for nothing, for absolutely nothing. A perfectly healthy baby, they charge them that. And I realized only after it happened, because you're vulnerable at that moment. You have a kid being born, and all of a sudden they say, no, just a little bit of warmer and a little bit of air and a little bit of bullshit this and bullshit that. And eventually enough hours went by that they could charge that to the company, and that's what they did. That is what you have right now in the medical community, and that's why I trust them as much as I do. I've experienced this in every country I've been. So it's not just in Argentina, it's not just in the United States, it's not just in Europe. It happens everywhere. Every single fucking country that I've been on, I've had some doctor trying to screw me over to make a few more bucks. And even if you don't mind, even if you have the money, or even if it's being paid by the insurance, but why on earth would you have something done on you or your loved ones when it's not needed? Especially when it's about cutting people up or removing parts of their body or doing surgery on someone, just because it's making that bastard, getting him a nicer suit or a new boat or whatever crap it is that they want to have. You just cannot trust people just because they have a degree, or just because someone got pissed at me the other day because I explained that I don't trust someone because he's wearing a uniform, because he's military, because he's police. I mean, I wasn't born yesterday. You think I'm going to be trusting someone because he's a veteran? Haven't you been screwed enough by people wearing different sorts of uniforms so as to not know that already? Someone said, yeah, what, veterans? You went too far, Fernando. Someone said in the comments. And people are like that, super innocent. If you're trusting people just because of different uniforms they've worn, may that be a military uniform, a police uniform, or a doctor's uniform, then, my friend, you need some growing up to do, because you don't know enough about this life, how it works. Let me get to the comments because I'm ranting here too much. Johnny says, Fernando, you think there will be war in Ukraine? There's already war in Ukraine, and there's been war in Ukraine for a while now. Now, is it going to be getting a lot worse? I don't think that Putin wants that. I think he just wants to, do a little bit of saber rattling and justifying. And it works. You also have to, this is very important in general, you have to put yourself in the other person's position. If you do that, you realize that it works very well for him locally. For Vladimir Putin, it works very well for him to do this because he's going to be getting the support of his country. He probably needs a lot of support right now, given that we are all in pretty complicated times. So this works very well for his popularity back home. Can it get even more even worse than it is already? I don't know. It could well be. I mean, every time you have this kind of active, ongoing war, the conflict could escalate even more. That's always a possibility. I don't think it's going to be getting a lot worse than it already is, but that's just my opinion. And, he has the Kazakhstan stuff going on as well, so he has interests there. And there's only a certain point in which he can push on Ukraine before the rest of the world, and especially the rest of Europe, says, man, if we don't stop this man right now, then we're going to be fighting him in our own backyard. So I think he's gonna be going for that land grab on eastern Ukraine. And if I had to make any bet, that would be where it ends. I don't think it's going to be getting beyond that. Okay. What else do you have here? Alec Tyrannus, Jack Spring, no knife should rattle as I move. That's a no. Yeah. No, well, it should not rattle. This one has specifically the knife, right, has a plastic piece, right, that is putting pressure on the blade so as to not rattle. So I mean, sure, it can rattle to a little bit if you shake it around quite a bit, but the sheath of the sheath of my knife is actually this one. It's the same sheath that's used by Aitor in the Oso Blanco and Oso Negro. This is one of the more popular knives for military all over the world. I know because they sell to military all over the world the same knife. So if you don't see this, that's on you. This is one of the most popular knives for different military groups around the world. They sell a ton of these to different armed forces. There's the Oso Negro, which is all blacked out, which I suppose that anyone military is going to be getting something less shiny than this. But believe me, it is sold a lot, and it has this plastic piece right there. So that, if you look at it on the inside, let me see if I can get this to focus. Anyway, so this plastic piece is specifically intended so as to keep the knife from rattling, and a little bit, yeah, it's not too bad. So you could have maybe other models have, like the M9 bayonet has an even bigger, like a metal spring keeping it in place so as to reduce that. But it does a good enough job so as to stop any loud sounds. Same thing for my knife. And this is this is probably the thing that's making a little bit more noise. But you see that? Yeah, not so much rattling. And it's because of that plastic piece back there. Just personal preferences. I doubt very enjoyable selling. Yeah, I think I lost it. There was a discussion. My knife falls out of the sheet too. Yeah. Do you think? Well, maybe a nice custom. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Alkman Tiretius at Furfel. That is the crap sheet I was talking about. I bought the Furfel. Well, it is one of the best ones I've came across. There's the typical Kydex sheath. It's a lot cheaper. These sheets are very expensive to actually make because they use molds and it's reinforced. It's a fiberglass reinforced polymer. You're not going to be getting a lot more of a better sheath than that. So I mean, and I get it. People maybe like leather sheath, or some people like Kydex. At some point, they were talking about doing the Kydex sheath because it's a lot less bulky. So they're thinking of doing like a Kydex sheath that's thinner. But the thing that people don't quite get, the Kydex sheath is not as strong as this. This is reinforced fiberglass, plastic, and it's super tough. And it's a lot more, and companies don't do this because, so as to do this, you need a mold. And doing a piece of folded Kydex is a lot cheaper, but it's a lot less sturdy as well. I know it's the same thing. I don't want to do all of this, could spend an hour talking about it, but it's the same reason why you see all the tactical 1095 epoxy cover crap, because it's cheap and people like it. But believe me, those sheets are a lot better than any Kydex sheet. Now, you want to make a Kydex sheath? Probably someone makes you one for a few bucks, or a leather sheath. I like leather sheaths a lot. They have that old timey thing going on for them, but just carrying in your teeth, yeah, that's gonna be tough. But the leather sheaths are nice. I make my own. I have a couple leather sheaths that I've made myself, and but they're not going to be as tough as this. This stuff, this plastic, is a lot stronger than any Kydex or any plastic sheath you could find. Kirk Quell, thank you for doing the live stream for us every week. Really appreciate it. Thanks, man. I like doing it myself. I like talking with you. Well, talking, this interaction that we have going on here. But yeah, thank you very much for being here. That was Alkman. Yeah, survival. Yeah, it's a survival knife, not so much a fighting knife. I mean, sure, you could stab someone with it, for sure. I like the Aitor Oso model. These are kind of like 80s type of survival knives, but they're very well designed as well. I mean, I don't like maybe some of these things going on here in the serration. Some people like, some people don't. But this is a fantastic knife as well. It's a little bit heavy because it's even heavier than mine, even though it's not a full tang knife. But it's very comfortable. And being a military knife, this tip, this point, has a lot of penetration. One of the things that other companies don't have is that they actually test each knife for the hardness. That spot there, that's where they do the Rockwell hardness testing, so as to check the heat treatment on each knife. Same thing for mine. I have this one. The same thing is done to in my knives. Aitor does that. Aitor does that in all. Well, I don't think it's in all of their knives, but on their more of a higher end type of knife, that is the kind of thing they do. I'm totally happy with my FERRAL. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for doing the live stream of great detail. The sheath is good. I got mine. I had no issues with it. I mean, someone says here that it falls off. Sister Tenacious, if it's falling off, it really shouldn't. If that's a problem it's having, then it should do like this. It should work like this. You see? So it should not fall off. I mean, you don't want to be carrying it in this position, but let me see if I get the angle right. You see how it's like that? If it's falling off, just send them an email, contact them. They're going to be doing a good job at, taking care of that for you. It's probably that sheath has a little bit too much, give right there, but it should not fall off by any means. I would not suggest carrying this like a neck knife because it's gonna be very, very heavy. But if this is an issue you're having, send them an email. They'll send you a new sheath if that's the problem that's going on there. But my suggestion is, carry it in the belt like so. It's heavy enough that's gonna be staying in there, and this should be doing enough of a retention thing. There it is, like so. Okay. But if it's falling off, contact them and let them know that it's you need maybe a new sheath. Just carrying your teeth. Howdy, folks. Steve Bishop. FERRAL, if you were living in the new penal colony called Australia, how would you get out now? Man, thanks, Steve Bishop. Good question. And, I really don't know. I mean, are you allowed to leave the country at least? Or if I was really in Australia right now, maybe I would have left a long time ago, given everything going on over there, especially. And you see the red flags, guys. This is where, talking about things that, when you see that they start restricting firearms, restricting your liberty, whenever a country starts going after your guns, that is a big red flag. They're doing that for a reason. It's probably because they're going to be doing things, they're going to be pissing people off, and they don't want people to be able to defend themselves. Probably that's the reason why they're doing it. So I would have left Australia a long time ago. Now, if I'm already there, I try to calm down as much as I can. Take a deep breath. Life goes on, and find how to make my way out of there. Eventually, is these restrictions, they're not going to be lasting forever. That's pretty much something you can count on. But there's going to be more crap coming up. And if there's a place where they obviously love to have an authoritarian regime, that's clearly Australia. They like the idea of having their own version of a Chinese dictatorship, but with Australians. I mean, it's something that obviously people are backing enough so that they get away with it. And the same could be said about other countries as well. What this really shows us is that people will tolerate things you wouldn't believe. I mean, and talking about things that people are tolerating, I was reading this. The Department of Justice creates unit to counter domestic terrorism after Capitol attack. So they're creating a unit specifically for domestic terrorists. You know the kind of people they're going to be going after, right? But there's an entire department created for this. A unit created to counter domestic terrorism after Capitol attack. They're going to be targeting conservatives. They're going to be using this as a way of putting fear in everyone that is dissenting, anyone that's conservative, anyone that's right-wing, anyone that does not like or want to fall in line with this authoritarian regime that they're trying to impose in different countries, including the United States. So when they say that the Department of Justice has created a new unit to counter domestic terrorists, what kind of domestic terrorists is it that they're worrying about? People that don't like the school curriculum? Is that the people that are going to be putting in jail now? Because they're doing that. They've already organized it in such a way that the board of different schools presented something in the Department of Justice, and they use it as an excuse to create this unit, but it was themselves that suggested it to the school authorities so as to have an excuse so as to come up with. I don't know if you saw the Fox clip from Tucker Carlson, but he explained this. It's not that the parents and school, the school authorities were scared and asking for protection from the Department of Justice. It was the Department of Justice themselves. It was from the government, from within the government, they told the school administrators to ask for this additional security and have an excuse as to tighten the chain around the neck of anyone complaining because of school curriculum, because of the things going on in their kids' education. It is insane, but anyway, it's what we have to deal with. Custom kinetic sheath available from eBay. I have 4 of them, 45 for a little Mora knife. You can make them yourself. The kinetics is super easy, and even easier is just buying a PVC tube and flattening it. You can do a knife sheath like that for a bunch of different knives for very, very cheap. The retention loop is a little too long. It could well be, yes. But if that's the case, ask them, and they're going to be sorting it out. I was roofer. I know what a knife she should do things. Okay, don't get upset. Yeah, I suppose you do. Austria, weekly video showing tyranny. We're seeing this all over, man. This is happening everywhere. So we shouldn't be happy about, look at these stupid Australians, how they're living, because this is one of those moments in which we have to be very humble and understand that it's bad over there, it's bad over here, it's being bad everywhere. I cannot think of many places where they can just point and laugh at what's happening right now anywhere, because the people behind all of this have that kind of reach. You know what I mean? The people behind the pharmaceuticals, the people behind the media, the people that own the politicians that we think we vote into office, the people that run all of that, the BlackRock and the Vanguard people, those people, they affect everyone. They reach everywhere. They're targeting conservatives. The thing is, here in the US, we're not easy targets. Jack Spring, well, yeah, but you see this about the Department of Justice creating a unit for counter domestic terrorism. What kind of domestic terrorism is there in the United States that they have to create a dedicated unit for that? That unit that Let's Go Brandon just created is going to be specifically made. I mean, they specifically made a unit or a department within the U.S. government to silence any kind of opposition. That is the only thing that unit is going to be doing, because there's no domestic terrorism in the United States. What are they even talking about? The deadly Capitol attack. Deadly what? The woman, man, I'm ashamed to admit that I forgot her name. Ashley Babbitt. She was the only one that was murdered by a thug, by a BLM thug with a uniform. That's who got killed in the Capitol. No one else. So they murdered a poor woman, and they call it a deadly attack. They have no shame. This is from The Guardian. I'm reading it right now. The deadly attack. The only person that got killed was this woman that had the courage and the guts to say no to these these corrupt politicians, and got shot thanks to for her. Yeah, for doing that. What should we do if ammo runs out? Man, if you don't have enough ammunition already, you should be buying more of it, I guess. But it's going to be a lot more expensive than it was not that long ago. Please make a segment on homemade weapons. Russian Eskimo. I can't do that, because one other thing that YouTube has very clear rules about is any kind of homemade weapons. You do anything that's homemade weapon, YouTube bans your video. And man, there's people that do that a lot better. I'm probably going to go into some of the other, not YouTube, maybe Odyssey or Rumble or BitChute. Maybe of some of those are places. There's people that it used to be that you had homemade weapons in YouTube, but with a new reset, that's no longer allowed. ScrewTube, yes. Yeah. No, you can't even. No, you can't do reloading videos or even stuff. You know what I had pulled? Videos on how to change a part in a gun. Fixing a gun, basic gunsmithing stuff. I had those pulled as well. They don't let you do anything in terms of even repair. It's not customizing. It's basic gunsmithing repairs. That also gets demonetized, and depending on who catches that, you may have a strike on that as well. So it's the way it is. This is what we're dealing with. Russian Eskimo. Yes, that's where we were planning to go. Frisco, but it's full. I think I missed a few. FBI, CIA, Department of Justice. Kick the dog, kick the dog. Yeah. Yes, Brandon is so smart. He can fix the. He's a man that is well past his prime. I think he ever had a prime, but old Joe is he's a walking mummy. He's just like a puppet, moved from here, there, and that's it. Domestic terror is real. Yeah. No, they're trying. One of the things they're trying to do is create, and this is from. You have to watch the Davos World Economic Forum video, the one where they say that you'll own nothing. And I don't know, did I get to do that video, or was it pulled out as well? But do you guys know? Let me know there in the comments. The video I'm talking about the World Economic Forum, the projection for 2030. You'll own nothing and be happy. Well, part of that is there's chaos and the world is hurting and there's violence out of control all over the world, and we need to reset the economy. We need to reset the Western values. We need to start all over again. The idea is that they need chaos and anarchy so as to justify the kind of tyranny they want to impose on the world. So they want to create this sensation of the world. I mean, I can look out the window and the world is not burning, man. The world is not up in flames. So bad things are happening, and tyranny is creeping and becoming getting worse by the day. But this idea that everything is madness and Mad Max, and we're living in some post-apocalyptic nightmare, that is simply not true. They want that to be real, because if that is even real just a little bit, they'll have the excuse to impose this reset of the world. Destroy all Western values, the basic liberties that it allowed. This idea that nothing good comes from white Europeans because it's all just the evil patriarchy. All of that bullshit. What kind of nonsense is that? You like living how the world used to live in the dark ages, when you owned nothing, when you were a slave to a lord, a chieftain. Do you think that in Asia, in Africa, they had more freedom, more liberty? They didn't have slaves. They didn't have tyranny. Even till this day, they have it a lot worse. It's thanks to those white men that they hate so much that they have a concept of freedom, democracy. Where do you think all of that came from? But, they're not even teaching this in school anymore. The idea of a serf. Thank you, Jack Spring. Thank you, man. Yeah, exactly. You're going to be a slave of those that own everything, because you own nothing, but they'll own everything. The owners of the world want to make sure you don't have anything left at all. The elite has never lost their sense of entitlement. You know what I think? I was talking about this with my wife, about these families, these names I cannot even mention anymore, because but the old names that have been ruling the world for hundreds of years and now own the BlackRock, the Vanguard, the State Street corporations or financial groups, basically own all of the banks, all own of the everything. They own everything. What is it that they don't own? I was surprised when I started digging in a little bit more. I was surprised there's not a single damn thing. Even the Vatican, the Vatican Bank, they manage it as well. They own everything. So what I think happened is that these people, how they say that the new rich, the new rich is kind of like a put down. You're new rich. You come from a poor family and now you have money, so you're new rich. And old money is supposed to be good, right? Oh yeah, he comes from old money. I think that the problem is old money. I think that when your old man was wealthy beyond your wildest dreams, and his old man before him was wealthier than him ever, when all of that wealth goes back for hundreds of years, and you have generation after generation of people that have absolutely everything, and the only thing they've known their entire lives is that they own the world, that ends up with a kind of detachment from reality that makes you do videos like the one they ended up doing for the World Economic Forum, where the first thing they say for their 2030 projection is a dumb fuck looking like a shit-eating grid idiot, like, I'll own nothing and be happy. I get it. It's an actor, an actor for the commercial. But the idea that, was there no one there around them when they came up with that and said, no, shh, even if you plan on doing this, don't say it out loud. Don't say out loud that you plan to enslave people and make them own nothing, because they'll realize what you're about. Was there no one around them that realized that? Or is it that they're so blind, they're so tone deaf, that they thought, they're going to be happy? And you know what? To a certain point, they're right. Because this is like Santa Claus. This is like the tooth fairy. People want to think that others, that men want to be free. And that is not true. Men don't want to be free. We don't want to be free. The great majority of people don't want to be free. They just don't want to have any kind of responsibility. That's what people want. This is, I'm sorry, because this is like, telling someone that Santa does not exist. People want a master. People want to be enslaved by someone that knows better than them. And this goes back to a time when we were, primates or whatever the hell we were in. If you look at nature, it's the same thing. The big monkey that bites the hardest is the one that rules the the group. It's the same thing. The strongest man is a chieftain of that tribe, and trial by combat, and the guy that is the strongest, the one that rules, and everyone else follows. People want to follow. People want to give up their freedom. People want to give up their lip. That's why we're kind of screwed, because we've been screwed for a very long time already. We just don't want to admit it, and most people don't even know it. Most people don't even know that they're not, based on the economic system that we live in alone. You don't have any. I mean, if you have to work to make money, you're not part of the people that print money for themselves out of thin air. Those are the people that own the world and own you. And if you don't realize that already, then you should wake up to that fact. That is a fact. If you have to work for the same thing that someone else can create for himself out of thin air, then that man owns you. That guy has enslaved you without you even knowing. You don't even know his name. But you have to work, or you have to sell something. You have to create something of value somehow, or give up some of your hardworking time. You have to give up some of your life so as to acquire that which they create out of thin air. When I'm the one with a magic printer making money while you have to work your ass off, or sell something that you have, or create wealth in some way, then he's the one that's owning you. And most people don't realize this. They just don't see it. People, this is the same as a Federal Reserve. It's not federal and it's not a reserve. And again, how many people know that the Federal Reserve, it's not federal and it's not a reserve, and it's just a bunch of bankers that decide for themselves how much money they're going to be giving themselves every single year, and say, okay, this sounds reasonable to you? How many millions we're making? Okay, how much? Okay, a few billion here, there. You're going to be having this, I'll have this, and blah, blah, blah. And we'll appoint someone in our interest. That's how it works. That's basically how it works. You know this, right? So that's and these people, it's funny, you don't even see them in the top 100 richest people in the world. Their name is not even mentioned. It was interesting. I was reading that the Rothschild family had an internal rule. They have their own laws, their own internal laws. They had something about not naming any kind of company under their control using their own actual family name. And I think it was David Rothschild in France that came up with a company that actually says Rothschild. So that was a little bit of a sore spot there internally in the family. But anyway, yeah, that's how it works. Hey man, Tammy Davis, thanks for the super chat, much appreciated. Thanks for the day. Love your knife I received after only 6 days. Maybe you could do a video bonus skinning knife. Maybe you could do a video of the bonus skinning knife for us ladies or gents that have never skinned. Yeah, because in the sheath itself there is a little skinning knife in the sheath. This is the same one that comes in the Jungle King. So it's internally there in the sheath of the knife, of the furful knife, and it drops right like there. And so, yeah, it's a handy little knife. Skinning, well, it is a little skinner knife, yes. But yeah, I should do a video using more of the stuff in there, because I think I just showed it in one of the videos. But yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, thanks for a super chat, and I appreciate that. I'm glad that you like it. Gonna be scrolling down, I think. I think they want to be free without the responsibility and work. Jack Spring. Well, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean by they don't really want to have the responsibility. They don't. I mean, if you want to be free but have no responsibility, then you're like a damn prisoner. You're only like in a cell. if you have no responsibility and you don't have to do any work, that is kind of like the definition of an inmate. You're being taken care of. You have a cell, but you have a roof over your head, and you have some food given to you, and that's basically it. You're the version of freedom that a lot of people want these days. But you see this all the time. I mean, um, I've seen so many people commenting, giving everything going on. Well, I don't know what to do. That's why I voted for this or this other guy. So you thought that just voting for someone means you no longer have any kind of responsibility? The reason they want you to own nothing because they want to loan everything, and if they loan you need an EST, social credit score. This is how they plan to control you. I think it's even more direct than that. If you don't own anything and they own everything, they own everything, and you're not able to own that damn thing. Yeah, critical race theory. They are brainwashing kids to disdain even the test humanity. Kids saying sharks are good, but people are like a virus on Earth. Yeah, kids are stupid, man. So they say that sharks are good, but people are like a virus. But we're going down a path of stupidity, and if you're sending your kids to public schools, which it may be a little bit better or worse depending on where you are specifically. Usually it's getting quite bad. Some schools are better than others depending on who's in charge and what kind of involvement the parents have and how much decision power the parents have. But this is part of being responsible as well. You have to teach your kids. Your kids go to school to learn basic stuff that certain people that are supposedly trained to do so. I want my math teacher to teach my kids math, and I'd like to think he's going to be doing a better job than I would, right? Sometimes that's not even the case, but fingers crossed. It's kind of like you're hoping for. But that does not mean that the education ends there. In fact, the most important education comes from your house. So the most important education your kids get comes from you, and your wife. That's the most important education a kid can possibly get. The other stuff that they get told in school is at most complementary to the real education they receive home. And I know a lot of people are very much into homeschooling, and if you're doing that, great, more power to you, man. I admire people that have that dedication. I do know a lot of people that are not doing that great of a job. Let me put it this way. I know several cases in which either the parents of the people I know were not up to the task, or the people that I know are doing it are not doing as good as a job as they think they are. At the end of the day, it's really on the parents. If your kids do well in life or not, how well you prepare them for it. It's not the school that's going to be doing that. The school is going to create the school is there so as to create a Lego block, so as to assemble the society the way they want. Basically a cog in the machine that is the world we live in. But if you want to create a person that is a free thinker, that has more control of his own life, then that's going to be your job. Telling Ra, you're right. People went comfortable slavery. People don't want to have freedom. People want to have no responsibility. People want to be little children, go back to living with mom and dad and have no responsibility whatsoever. And that's only reinforced by everything in our society. The idea of being responsible, of being a man, of being a woman, all of that is being destroyed. Even the idea of being a man or being a woman is being destroyed. I was reading, they're going to be remaking some Harry Potter crap movie where there's going to be a transgender magician. I mean, it's going to be horribly bad. It's extremely bad, Alex, please, I don't care about life anymore, man. Don't say that. Family tradition, work is good for the soul. It is. When you put yourself, you put dedication, and you make an effort, you make things happen, It's always a level of satisfaction in that. Jack Spring, tell Matt he missed a great show and you're thinking of getting Bear Grylls to replace him. Haha. Just kidding. Yeah, Bear Grylls. No, yeah. No, I'd never, I'd never do that. Uh, Matt is worth a thousand Bear Grylls and then some. Eric Harton, it's not just them printing, it's fake. It's about people taking it for fake and party building as majority to do this. And I won't raise a beast and meant to. Schools should be places of learning, not education and learning. Yeah, that's a good point. Carlos here says school should be a place for learning, not education and learning of marketable skills. Yes, it should be a place where you learn. And there's, I mean, I don't know. Let me know you guys in the comments, but I had teachers that actually taught me good valuable stuff. I know it was back in the day and things are a lot worse these days, but even my kids, even my kids, every once in a while they get a good teacher, someone that really cares and does a good job. And but you know what, that's life as well. So that's also part of the education that your kids should have from school, even from the crappy school that they may end up going to. That is life. You're going to be having good people. You're going to be having bad people. You should uh, educate and teach your kids so as to learn to tell one from the other. And sometimes you'll have to deal with shitty, crappy people, and that's part of life as well. And that's a lesson in itself. By the way, I have my Star Citizen Cup here mug. If you like any kind of video game at all, check this out. I left the link below because I'm loving it. I hadn't played anything like that for a very long time. In fact, my wife is kind of pissed at me about how many time I'm spending on it. But a lot of fun. And yeah, super interesting. The story, I have to do the video on it in my other channel, the one I started. I have to do videos of a couple movie reviews. I watched, you know what, before, yeah, it's over an hour now. Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man, it's actually a very good movie, guys. Go watch it if you can. Very, very little or no woke crap content in it at all. Refreshingly sincere in many ways. Just a great movie. The kind of movie you rarely see anymore. So yes, if you like anything at all about those, I don't know why it was this way, because it's still a Marvel movie, and everything Marvel has been doing lately is junk. The woke crap in their movies is terrible, but the last one, man, it is very, very good. It's fantastic. Yes, I'll do a review for that later. Great teacher, Jack Spring. Kid, I never know, man. It's all good. I'm just joking. Don't worry. When shooting the series, big tough Bear Grylls sleeps in a hotel. Well, now Ray Mears. He was. I like Ray Mears a lot. Ray Mears does some very good content. I think the guy had a tough. Some bad luck. I think his wife died very early on, and some stuff like that. But yeah, Ray Mears is a real deal. Bear Grylls is nah. Stuff. Not only the hotel stuff. Did you know that he jumped into a river using a flotation device, a jacket, a flotation jacket underneath the clothes he was actually wearing, and pretending to float with a pair of jeans that he got wet and trapped some air in there. That's the kind of thing that gets people killed. So yeah, that's someone that does that. That is like jumping into a river and pretending to float with something that does not, in something that is even remotely reassembling anything survivalist or prepper kind of stuff, that is like making people think that they can stop a bullet with, with your cell phone. I stopped a 9 millimeter with my cell phone. It's that kind of neglect that it's involved in pretending to float with something that doesn't, while really using a device that allows you to do that, but pretending to do it with a pair of jeans. It is shameful what that man did, but I think he did a bunch of crap like that. Anyway, one of the Hollywood or media people, shouldn't surprise anyone anymore. Yeah, but Ant says, I mean, if I jumped into a river, I want a flotation. Yes, of course, but you wouldn't conceal it, and you wouldn't conceal the flotation device and pretend it's not there, so as to give people a false sense of security with a tip or a trick that you're selling in your reality TV. That is the dangerous part about it. Yeah, that's basically what I mean. What do you think on MGTOW? Man, you're killing me. I have no idea what that is. What is MGTO? Jack Spring, I stopped trying to game because the damn kids knew all of the cheats and it was frustrating. It happens, yes. But if you, Jack, if you like video games at all, give it a try. It's really different from everything else. You need a pretty powerful computer. You need a good graphic card, but it's worth it. Have you have you seen Island series where a group of men and a group of women tries to survive? No, I don't think it's a whole lot of fun. I think they kind of suck, all of those reality shows, and besides, they're all scripted. Nothing happens. I mean, if you just drop a bunch of dudes in an island, and some women and guys in an island, nothing fun is going to be happening. They need to create some kind of content, and that content is always scripted. It always ends up happening the same stupid, silly drama, fake drama, and these things where, I don't know, it's just super boring. Men going their own way. I have no idea what that is. Sorry, they're all actors. Furfel, you say your name so fast, it sounds like you're saying the mass survivalist. It's your brand name. Slow down a bit. Let it penetrate your audience audio better. Okay, thanks for the tip, man. Yeah. That's maybe a problem I have speaking too quickly sometimes. I worked with Ray Mears twice. Yes, his personal life has been hard recently. Yeah, and I'm sorry for that. Sorry that's been that way for him. But he always came across like a kind soul, like a good guy. At least that's the impression I have. But he always seems like a good person. If you can tell that from just body language, facial expression, and tone of voice. But he seems like a good dude. And the information that he had, I have one of his books, and it's actually quite good. So yeah. Just because a coyote strapped a rocket on his back to catch the roadrunner, it doesn't mean that it works. Yes. Well, that's basically what he did. He pretended to be flying with a rocket when in fact he was being held by cables in a studio, in a movie set, and he was pretending to be flying, or he was pretending to be floating with a pair of jeans. It's pretty much like trying to fly with a rocket, like a cartoon. Oh, what did I miss here? Daniel Fitzpatrick. They basically feel that modern Western women are gold diggers and they're anti-commitment. What's that coming from? I miss them. Men going. Ah, okay. So what do I think about men going their own way? Um, okay, yeah. Now I get it. Look, I get it that it's not just women, it's men as well. There's very little men around. I get this from comments from women as well. Believe me, every once in a while, I mean, it's like 90%. And I know there's some women out there, and I appreciate their their presence here in the channel and the comments. It's especially nice because I don't have a lot of them. So my viewers that are women are especially appreciated. But every once in a while, I get emails, comments, and women have the same problem. They're not finding men; they're finding these poor bastards that have been castrated from the moment they were born, literally at some point, in ways that I'm not going to be getting into. But there's very few men to go around. Men are less manly than they've ever been. We are a society of weaklings and cowards. They're afraid to speak out. They're afraid of being men, because being a toxic masculinity kind of man is bad, and it's bad to be a man. And the same thing for being a woman. Unfortunately, it's the same thing for women. If you're feminine, you're part of the patriarchal oppression bullshit agenda, that kind of nonsense. So women that should try to look like manly men, and men that should be more feminine, and the destruction of both men and women, and basically the destruction of society, and a bunch of easy to manipulate slaves is basically what they want us to end up with. Jack Spring, even my daughter has men's skill like shooting and outdoor skills. Well, yeah, I mean, I would argue they're not manly skills. I mean, if there's someone that should know how to shoot, that would be a woman. A woman has naturally a natural disadvantage against men when it comes to anything physical and the use of violence, because they're for the same weight and the same size, a woman is always going to be 30-40% weaker than a man. So they're in a clear disadvantage. So something that gives them an edge in that regard. I encourage, especially women. I mean, I encourage everyone to learn how to shoot and own a firearm, but especially women. If you're a bit of a bigger dude, if you're a bit more muscular, and you have more of a size and obvious strength, there's gonna be someone that's gonna be looking at you, and that same person's gonna be looking at a woman, and he's going to be going, what, I'll snatch that woman's purse before I go after that dude. Why would I do that? And it makes a whole lot of sense. So especially women should know how to shoot. It is, I think that's quite clear. MGTO seems to think that game is rigged against them, so why play is the sentiment. Okay, yeah, going back to that, I don't want to make this too long, but Daniel Fitzpatrick, I have a woman with traditional values. Awesome, good, that's going on for you. But the idea is this: that so why play? Look, why? Because there's probably someone out there that has your same values. This is like everything else in life. The good things take work and effort, and if you want to find someone good for you, your life, and have a family, you have to look around. You have to expose yourself to rejection at times. That's also part of the deal. But these incels, the one that the incels, I don't know, the guys that have problems with women and go out and do horrible things, that is the definition of a loser. That guy that says, man, I'm going to be going out and shooting women because no one wants to sleep with me. Grow up here, go out there and find someone that is interested in you, and you're interested in her, and you have some basic common values and views on life and what you want to do with it. I get it. There's a lot less, and there's also a rigged system, especially in the United States, so as to screw men. If there's ever a divorce, which is more often the case than not, you are abused by the system in ways that I don't know any other country in which men are destroyed like they are in the United States if you end up in divorce. Men have no right at all. I mean, unless there's something, strong addictions or a very clear criminal history or mental problem, men are always going to be losing it. And it's rigged in such a way that many guys just don't want to commit, don't want to get married because they don't want to risk that. And I get it. Now, I get it, not wanting to sign a paper that may end up ruining your life. At the same time, you can still have a family, you can still get married, you can still find someone that is not. I guess that you always take some kind of risk, because you might be thinking, I found the right person, and that person, after all, I'm sure that anyone that got married thought he was doing it well, but there's also the case of many people. Every once in a while, you come across someone that says, "Yes, I shouldn't have I shouldn't have married. I know that I shouldn't have because I knew that she was like this." Or even with women, I knew that he was. So you kind of lied to yourself and getting yourself into a problem, maybe. And sometimes it was completely caught by surprise. They never thought it would happen to them, and then their life is ruined. But if you don't take that risk, if you don't put yourself out there and you don't try to make it and end up with the things you want in life, then it's definitely not it won't be happening, and you'll just be one of those guys that just stands by and watches life go in front of them, which is also not all that great. Gaston Glock making a 90-pound woman equal to a 30-pound. Yes, of course. It's a great equalizer. Men have a 75% chance to lose 50% their net worth and not retain custody of their kids. What reasonable person would participate in that system? No thanks. Yeah, I get it. I absolutely understand. Carlos from Alaska, what do you mean by you can dock a sailboat? Okay, I don't know what that's about. Get close to the sailboat and then paddle the rest. Alec Tritius, you can't guarantee not getting married prevents divorce in common law countries. Yeah, it's one of those things you better be sure of. And yes, it's also something that you can plan ahead of. If you get advice from, if you're thinking of be it a man or a woman, if you have any capital that you could be concerned about and you're still sure about marrying, but you just want to have that insurance, there's probably things you can talk about with your lawyers as to sort things out in case things do go wrong. The famous prenup agreement that some people go for, maybe it's something that benefits her as well if she has certain things that she wants to protect just in case. Alec, man, I know a lesbian who just saw a softball game, said, I'm going to date the 2P, and she did. What is that? Anyway, guys, hour and 20 minutes. I really appreciate you guys for being here. I hope you had a good time and I kept you entertained for a little bit. Still, my grandfather smoked to 88 years, so smoking is healthy, I guess. No, it's probably not healthy. No, I'm sure it's not. Anyway, thanks, guys. That's gonna be all, and see you next time. Okay, take care, folks. See you next time. Bye bye.